Counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The DK Effect. A real-life diary of a madman.
It's time for the DK Effect. Oh, 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 come on. Oh, 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 come on. Oh, 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 oh. It's time for the DK Effect. Oh, 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 come on. Oh, 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 oh.
Well, top of the day, everybody. My name is DK, and it's great to be here with you today. I got the windows open. It's starting to feel like spring for real, for really real. It's kind of up and down still. You get the odd cold day. We're getting lots of rain. We're we're in April now, right? April showers bring May flowers, olden ancient saying. But it's great to have the fresh air. But there's a threat of thunderstorms. So before I hopped in the studio today, I went for a walk, did my physio. I'm going to update you on that in a second. Did my walk and took a drive to the pharmacy. There's a couple things I had to pick up. And I've noticed it's a lot cheaper than Amazon. I'm supporting someone's job. It's not AI. So what is new? Well, let me tell you. How's your goals going, folks? Are you using micro goals? You know I'm a big fan of them because you celebrate a lot more often than, climbing the mountain or learning a new language or, the big things, right? Like, so a couple of micro goals. I chopped off the list, cut the branches off, whatever you want to call it. With physio, I've always used my hands. I stand for 95% of the exercises, but I need to put my hand on the kitchen island is usually what I usually use, a chair or whatever. There's still a few exercises that I need to hold on, but I'm no hands. And let me tell you, when you check off that micro goal, and now, of course, the new micro goal is doing all these physio exercises without hands. Well, it's challenging. I find it hurts more. Like it's almost like maybe I'm using more body weight. I'm not the fitness guru, but anyhow, it hurts, and it's like starting over again. But it feels good. It's like, look, Ma, no hands. Like when you were a kid. Write this down. Growth will ask you to be a beginner again and again. Growth will ask you to be a beginner again and again. And that's what I feel like. I mean, I'm celebrating because I'm making progress, right? I mean, ultimately, it's be normal, whatever that is. I got this fixated in my mind that I'm going to start walking. It's looking more like May, but I'm going to be walking without that walker. I'll bring the cane, and when I do that, it's going to be starting all over again. The end of the block and back, right? But that's a yet for me. It's not I can't. I'm not ready just yet. And then I drove to the pharmacy. The Shoppers Drug Mart is what they're called around here. And I went on main roads. First time I've driven on main roads. Again, for you people are like, well, what they do? But, it's, again, another little micro goal. I chose a time. I went early when there was no traffic. The store wasn't busy. I only brought my cane, and I did okay. So there you go. Check it up on my goals this week. Folks, it is episode 10. And I was thinking, I'm like, okay, so what are we going to talk about? Is that, again, a micro milestone for a podcast? God, my other one, I did almost 400 episodes in 10 years. But anyway, micro milestone. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk about positive thinking because that's something I know I'm an expert at. It's something I carried from my old story to my new story. In coaching, in my professional life, with my friends, people that I meet. I've always been told you're always so positive. You always see the bright side. And I live with a couple negative people, my son and my wife, but I don't let it bother me. I'm a positive thinker. And I always have been. I've been told, coaching hockey, that's the ace I had in my pocket over other people. They might have been smarter than me or more skilled, but I played on the positive thinking. But of course, I started to read some articles, and part of this is going to go into the next week. I just won't have enough time. I guess the question is, I know you're all saying, oh, no, you didn't. You just got through saying you could wing this, you could do it. Yes, I can. But the new me is like, I got to look at things. So I pulled an article, and we'll talk about it briefly. Is positive thinking enough? That's a valid question. I want to analyze it. You probably do too. And we'll get into that very shortly. But yeah, like I'm a huge fan. And I've heard some of these speakers go, I don't believe in positive thinking. Well, I do. I do. It works for me. And I've always done it, affirmations during the meditations, stuff like that. So, things I read. So anyway, that's all I got for the opener. I just wanted to share a couple things for you, give you a little intro of what's around the corner if you want to plug your ears or if you want to hear me talk about positive thinking. All right, kids, week 2, part 2, Penelope Jane.
Since DK graduating from his neuro-linguistic programming and coaching course, we will be adding something new, pattern to power, taking all the traditional NLP framework with a modern twist. You've been listening, you've been growing, and honestly, you've been the best part of the DK Effect journey. Now, we want to give something back to you. DK is preparing a special free Zoom seminar called A New Story. No fluff, just us live diving into the tools you need to finally turn the page. Space will be limited because we want to hear from you. Keep your eyes on our socials and www.thedkeffect.ca. The official invite is coming soon.
Now it's time to welcome back from London, England, Penelope Jane. This week, Penelope continues to speak about her new business venture. She also explains her unique thoughts on yoga and meditation. How does the journey progress? And what words of advice does Penelope share? Sit back and enjoy while Penelope tells us in her own words.
You look for the solution, not sitting in the problem and wallowing away.
But exactly that. And I think that's all kind of shaped me. Everything I think, and I do believe that, people are meant to come into your life. I was at a point, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be, when Isla was born, and I knew that I'd have to come back to England because I would be in the hospital and I'd be asking the translators questions to ask the doctors, and they would just turn around to me and say, I'm so sorry, Miss Davies, but we're actually not going to ask the doctor that question. And I was like, okay, that's a bit tricky then, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I had to eventually just bring her home so that I could ask the questions that I actually wanted to directly do to the doctors. But it all got me thinking, and when I started to think about, okay, I really want to expand my business, and I love yoga. I mean, you must get it, right? Because you love energy work, you love Tai Chi. So
you got to try Tai Chi. I love it.
Tai Chi.
Yeah.
And it's my yoga is very akin to Tai Chi in the way that it's very kind of energetically, center driven and all that. And you
may have a new virtual client after this.
Well, I was literally going to say, it's the one thing I don't like about yoga. I don't like online yoga. Yeah. I've never been able to do it. I've never been able to do it myself. And like literally someone's in front of me on the TV, and I've never actually been able to record it. I tried it, but we had a puppy at the time, and when I say a puppy, like he's a big dog, so it was a puppy. He was like a full-size dog, and so we had a crate for him. So I didn't have any room. He took up the room where I would have put my yoga mat, and it's it just never floated my boat. I love in-person stuff.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean,
yeah,
you follow your passion. There's something for everyone.
Well, yes, I do truly believe that. So I had to kind of find something that I thought would kind of work. And I looked at everything I'd been through and all of my past and, how I had been through it. And even when I hadn't been my best self, but I realized, well, I've led myself through everything. I've led myself. I am very independent. I think that's one of my traits, but there's been other things that have gone through it. And that's when I put two and two together and thought, well, there you go. This is your time to offer, leadership to other businesswomen. So that's where this all kicked off. And that even has just brought up a whole different thing of how to use my yoga for being an entrepreneur, especially in like the stress and pressure kind of arena. I've really managed to get myself through that. So I don't feel stressed. I mean, you can imagine the amount of yoga I do. The breath and movement creates so much moving meditation. There isn't really any area or any space for stress.
Meditation is another one of my babies now.
Yes, isn't meditation amazing?
Yeah, it is.
It's like one of the most fabulous things that people, one of my little pet hates though, is people, I mean, oh my gosh, this is really rude because you might do this. Anyway, just say it out.
It's okay. I've been called worse, trust me.
Oh, bless you. When people talk about breath work and then they go, and my friends will go, Pen, I've been doing meditation. I'm like, well, this is fabulous. I'm so pleased to hear. How's it all going? And they're like, well, I just sit down and I do some breathing.
Well,
and I'm like, right, okay.
I just my only input on that is, and this is just from personal experience, and I'm no expert yet, but the breath work is good at the beginning to kind of clear your mind and ground you. But you're right, there's so much more of it out there.
Oh yeah, and I would say I have another tool that grounds you better than the breath.
Okay,
so you grab a golf ball. And you roll that golf ball underneath your foot.
Okay.
And you roll it gently, and then you roll it more firmly. And then you begin to wake up that kind of energy center at your root. That's where I believe that works. I do it with my clients.
I'm going to try.
Well, if it hurts you and don't like it,
Well, I've got neuropathy, so it's probably good for my foot.
Oh, yeah. So. I love reflexology, so I'm really into all of that. But I also into the energetic centers, so that floats my boat for that.
I wanted to hear about the energy. That's what that piqued my interest as well. The sounds and whatnot.
Yes. So every single, look, this is my framework. And yes, you have the chakra framework and I love it and all, but it wouldn't be me if I didn't do it my own way.
Correct.
So I roll with it, but I have my own little spin on it. So we have the root chakra, which is for me based down in the feet, slightly different. And it's the color red and it has its own frequency. So I'm a big Spotify girl. I know some people are into YouTube and there's all other platforms for listening to music. Apple's another one, isn't it? But I love to just put on frequency music depending on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing balancing, I don't know, do you do any balancing in your chair yoga?
Oh,
I imagine you do.
Yes, because just a little bit on me, this is about you, but that's my main weakness now. I couldn't walk at all. I'm walking, but balance is one of the things I really got to work on. I've got the strength. Now I need the balance is much harder to get.
So just a little tip from someone who's been doing it for a while. If you feel like you are wobbling and you're not holding on to anything, I don't know if that's the case with you, but sometimes it's better.
No, it is.
Yeah, sometimes it's, So, and for me, you need to have your hand on something until you stop wobbling.
Yeah.
I don't personally believe that you can practice balancing with your hands away from a wall. That's not where I've seen progress from people. I've seen other people teach it, and I see it a lot in Pilates teachers. And no offense to them, because I'm sure you'll have them on, and I'm all good for anyone who's up for well-being. But it's just my own personal experience of what I've seen works.
Okay.
And that's what I've seen works, having support. And that support kind of rolls in off the mat. Do you know what I mean? Into real life as well, having support.
Right.
You know,
so when
yeah.
I do my standing exercises, what I call my therapy, because my physiotherapist I'm holding on to the island in the kitchen, but
Fab.
very lightly. It's just there for me, and
For support.
I'm doing my standing, leg exercises. Tai Chi, I don't hold on to anything. But
Nice.
But I don't over push it, right? Like I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tai Chi has that real nice kind of like a gentle, energetic vibe about it, doesn't it?
Yes.
Drawing it in and, having it around you, which is really beautiful. So you have that root center. So try the golf balls, just begin to, before your meditation, this is what I would do. This is what I do with my clients. They use the golf ball, and then when they come to seated, because obviously, you know what I mean? Sometimes even being seated is difficult, cross-legged. You have to find a place that's comfortable, and then you can arrive. But equally, what I find as well, and this is something else that you might want to incorporate before you do your meditation. If you start to think about your physical senses, instead of like dropping straight into your sixth sense, do you notice the beauty that you see with your eyes?
Gotcha.
Do you have... do you know what I mean? Do you have music on that kind of like enhances,
I do.
ears?
I'm really music or nature, but
yes, fab. And then you have maybe a drink that you taste, and it has that kind of like sensation for you, and a smell that just for me it's about just awakening the physical senses. I do believe that this is a little bit of a kind of like a gloss over. Right. It's almost like, okay, we just forget about your physical senses, but they have a big play of us. They're a big part of who we are. And then you can drop into meditation. And even then, you've got to choose the right place. Honestly, that for me, there's so much going on in meditation, so much going on to make it so you can have the most profound experience. That's what I believe you need to get in. So anyways, going back to the energy centers.
No. This is a road I'm going down, and I'm encouraging others as well. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully more people will do. If they can just sit for like a minute to start off with.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole thing of, you can't switch off your thoughts. So if you can say the word inhale and the word exhale, that will calm your mind down. And over time, you'll be able to focus on your breath.
Yeah.
Because then you want to, you want to avoid the thoughts, and then you want to hear your thoughts. You know what I mean? Because
that's where I'm at. The whole beginning was block your mind out. Everything's black. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Well, it's a tricky one. I don't think that's possible, which is why I say use words, because for me, blocking my mind out means I go black, and if it means I go black, then I'm black in a place, and I can't. So for me, that does not resonate.
Right.
Doesn't resonate at all. I mean, a mind blank is not something I feel, because I used to say switched off to my clients, and I went, that's not what I mean. It's not what I mean. I don't mean switched off.
Everything the DK Effect all in one place. www.thedkeffect.ca. All our social media links. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. A library of articles that go into detail on subjects covered on the show, and other articles including mental health, personal growth, fitness, and success stories. An easy way to contact us with questions, or if you want to share your story on the show. Yep. All of that in one place to assist you on your life journey. It all starts with taking the first step at www.thedkeffect.ca.
Back over to you, Dicker. 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 Back over to you, Dicker.
Positive thinking. So, like I told you, and I think you're starting to get to know me, as confident as I am to to speak on this. I am open-minded, and I am learning a lot of things. I have a lot of time to study. I have a lot of time to read, which maybe I didn't have as much before. But I came across this. I think it's a novel. I'll put it up on the webpage for you if you want to dive more into it. It's called Positive Thinking in Losers, or How Reframing Differs from Positive Thinking. I'm going to get into reframing, but I just don't have enough time right now. We'll do it next week, I promise. So this guy goes on to say he saw Anthony Robbins on the Today Show, and he was talking about helping folks deal with the current difficult financial times. The host asked him a question, and apparently he said, it's only going to get worse. The economy, it's only going to get worse. And this guy says, in that moment, I felt sorry for Tony Robbins. You know Tony. He tells it like he is positive. Although he'll tell you he doesn't believe in positive thinking. He is positive. And he has a lot of sayings that are like positive thinking. So he's, in one ear out the next. But to feel sorry for Tony Robbins, there's a guy you don't feel sorry for. But this gentleman, this doctor who wrote this, is into hypnosis. No, I am not studying or practicing hypnosis. Just to put that to bed right away. I did listen, because I like meditation. I did listen to a guided meditation just to give it a try, just to have an open mind. And I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't hypnotize you. I get the same effect from someone who says, we're going to do a guided meditation on falling asleep or relaxing your body or clearing your mind or whatever it is. To me, it's the same. Am I being hypnotized? I really don't know. I can't say no, because I'm not, I don't think I've ever been hypnotized unless I just was. But anyway, I'm not here to tell you hypnotism is fake or it works or it doesn't work. That's not my spot. But to me, it was the same as a regular one. So it goes on about, and this guy sells positive thinking. It's how the hypnosis works once he puts you under. Being positive versus getting results. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll always be a positive thinker, and I'll always be into motivation. But as I'm thinking about it, I'm realizing, and I think probably I already knew this or did it without knowing it, without recognizing it. But positive thinking is a conscious thing. It's immediate. It's a state changer. I'm all for it. 100%, 110%. But it's a conscious thing. And he didn't like that. This doctor, positive thinking is in your subconscious and and more to follow. But it's true. You can be in your subconscious, folks, and you're in this beautiful garden that's your subconscious mind, that you've, changed all the negative beliefs. You wrote that new story, but there's weeds. There's always weeds in there. And those weeds usually go back to the same things, some kind of a fear, right? Or like a fear. Like I was talking last week, I believe it was, about discipline, and how I had a wrong trigger back there in what I'll now refer to as the garden, and I had to change my belief on that. But there was pain there. Was it fear? Fear of discipline? The more I started thinking, ties in. All these weeds in your garden tie into some kind of a fear or phobia. You've lost your job. You've broken up your marriage. You're not physically fit or healthy. You've had a bad illness or a disability. It could be so many things. Those weeds are there, right? And until you prune them properly, they're always going to be there. They're always going to sprout up. You least expect it. So he challenges that a strong belief can counter a hypnotic suggestion. Now, remember here, I told you positive thinking, affirmations, all that stuff, that's in the conscious realm. I would think, being no expert, hypnotic suggestion is going to your subconscious. So arguing this point is mute. Hypnotic suggestions tend to work best when there's not a stronger counter suggestion already present. A belief can be thought of as a hypnotic suggestion. If a person has a pre-existing belief that runs counter to your suggestion, such as they won't be able to quit because your suggestions will battle it out there. So I guess this is all kind of parallel to a lot of the things we talk about. And come to think, I think it mentions hypnotic suggestion in NLP, but I'll have to go back and look at that. An easier way to proceed for everyone is to loosen up those old belief systems before you fire yours in. So he's buying into what we talk about, as far as I can tell, even though he's presenting this argument, is loosen up. My way of wording it, pull the weed, change the belief. So I guess I'm in agreement. He goes on to, he's now a reframing expert all of a sudden. And we'll talk about that next week from what I believe is a real expert. Depending on how you set a person up in their belief, you might even make that reframe a two-step reframe. So anyway, he goes into the reframing, which, yeah, I can't say I disagree with any of that. So then he gets into action plans and consider yourself as a scientist. And then again, he kind of mentions once you get yourself in that positive frame of mind, you can go into the hypnotic suggestion. So again, do I agree? Not necessarily. Do I disagree? Not necessarily. So anyway, my thoughts on positive thinking. Conscious, yes, they work. They're important. I'm never going to change it, but it's not the subconscious. It's not the garden. It's not taking care of those weeds in the garden. Got all those flowers in there, plants, blooming vegetables, too many weeds. So next week, reframing. Just wanted to give a counter. Hope I wasn't attacking the magician or the magician. That's what they are to me, a hypnotic guy. Anyway, thank you, Penelope Jane, again. Next week will be the closing, so you won't want to miss it. Part 3, before we move on to someone else's story. As always, folks, dream big. You got to have dreams. But you got to believe in those dreams. You got to believe you are going to achieve them. You need goals, and you need action on those goals. Action on those dreams. Action. Let that word settle in. You know, all this talk is fluff. If you're not taking action, listening to me talk, listening to another person talk, saying I'm going to do this, this is what I'm doing. Action puts it all together. For those of you celebrating Easter, be blessed. Have a happy Easter. All right, I'm out of here. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Smile at somebody. Get moving, even if it's just a walk. Till next time, I'm DK.
Never, never.
Keep going and don't give up. Never, never, never look back. Keep going.